Welcome back to Ask Sloan, everybody.
Sponsored by Zentavos. Keep more of your money.
Welcome back to part 2 with Emmanuel Guerrera, City Councilman for Pasadena, Texas. And if you missed part 1, you need to go back. It was great. It was absolutely great. Thanks again for being here, Emmanuel.
Thank you for having me twice. So I think I did something right.
Yeah, right? Yeah, come on. I love that blue too, bro. It's my favorite color, man. Here we are rocking it.
Great minds think alike.
So what made you want to get into politics?
I think a need to or a desire to serve. At the time, I approached my predecessor and I said, "Sir, my name is Emmanuel Guerrero. I'd like the opportunity to talk to you about some stuff that kind of needs some work in our community." And he basically said in not so nice words to buzz off. And I was like,
Wow.
that's not cool. And then I'm like, wait, my taxes pay whatever he makes. Like he's my employee in theory. So you know what? Like I could fire him. It's okay. I'm not going to vote against him. But wait, I could hold that seat. And so kind of spiraled into, understanding the needs of our community. We had one of my community townhouses. They had dirty water was going into there. Water lines hadn't been, and they still had lead pipes. Water lines hadn't been improved in years.
Oh,
no. So stuff of that area, like, hey, this isn't right, and hey, this is right. Hey, there's a dip there that's too far. Hey, there's that street that was scraped and never paved or redone with concrete. Like, what's going on? So stuff like that. I said, we deserve better. So hence how my journey into service kind of started.
Awesome. Okay, so identifying, hey, some issues around the community that aren't getting resolved. Tried to use the process to get involved and got nowhere because the politician was, just a blowhard, right? And so you're like, hey, well, if you're not going to do your job, well, maybe I can do a better one for you. I mean, I like that. I like that. I definitely want representatives that care,
Definitely.
that like, hey, this is community I live in. These are the problems that I see and nobody's solving them. So I'm going to go. I love that. So super cool. So I know you just recently ran for another seat, a district seat in the state legislature, right?
Correct.
And so you have some things on your website for running, and I wanted to ask you a few questions about it.
Of course.
Okay. And I really want our audience to kind of understand more about how government works, and it's not just war with Iran. It's not just supporting Israel or the fight against China. That's absolutely happening, those things, but that is not fixing the lead pipe scenario. That is not dealing with the the water, the aqueduct water, receding, and Texas is going to be out of water one day. So the first thing that you had was expanding Medicaid eligibility to cover more low-income Texans and stop Social Security cuts. And so first question I have is like, who isn't covered right now by Medicaid in Texas that should be covered or that needs to be
Of course. But I think identifying that is a big part. There's seniors who don't have the resources to be able to apply, submit their documentation on time. There's some who haven't renewed.
Okay.
So my goal for my office as a state representative, I was going to have a task force that went out to seniors, mobility limited, language limited, identified those and be able to bring the services to them. My approach for I don't even call it politics. I call it servant leadership. That's the model I live by, and by yourself as well.
Yeah.
Going to the people in need. Not waiting.
So it wasn't like qualifying more people. It was people who were qualified that weren't receiving the benefit because there was something in the way for them to get that benefit.
Both. There was people that didn't know the process to qualify with different language barriers. I mean, predominantly Spanish. It's hard. Those forms are daunting. But how could identifying was the first step, and being proactive in meeting the community where they're at, meeting their needs.
Gotcha.
So expanding that, and part of what you mentioned was stop Social Security cuts. So we all understand the economy's tough right now. And we're in a recession, although the news don't want to broadcast it. So we forget about the people on fixed income.
Yeah.
How can we better serve that? Some of them have it. So both Social Security has not received an increase in about 10, 15 years.
Right.
So
I see what
being
you're
able to
saying.
proactively lead initiatives that increase that for everybody, these small things that you wouldn't think of, instead of talking about the bigger thing, the Chinese spy balloon, Israel and Gaza situations. Let's talk about serving our constituents here. You mentioned something last podcast about, can we just come back to being America? Can we just come back to fellow Texans helping each other, fellow Texans? Like, I'm a born and raised Texan, and I'll probably die a Texan. But what does that mean? That means, how can I help my fellow man, not just Texans, but in the Bible? How can we support our brothers and sisters?
Absolutely. Absolutely. No, I love that. I love that. And so the Social Security cuts that you're talking about is the fact that it hasn't increased, that there's cuts to the program. They're not they haven't really they haven't backfilled that program. So like they're constantly it's been running out of money since I was like 4 years old.
It hasn't been balanced. When we look at example for the city, we do a COLA, cost of living adjustment.
Okay.
Standard is about 3%, 3 to
3%
5%.
a year. Yeah.
Yes, that's
Absolutely.
standard.
Yeah.
But we see CEOs, we see our top heavy people getting 10, 20% increases. Why? Why can't we flip that and give to people who need it? But
Sure.
on Social Security, there's been no significant cost of living, cost of inflation adjustment
Right.
in years.
No, and we've had some major inflation. So I see what you're saying there. So it's not necessarily stop the cuts. It's actually like make it work again,
Correct.
right? You know, and I think there was some speculation on how on privatizing it so that our investment banks can actually help that fund grow, because the government's kind of just sitting on it and the interest has been so low for so long, it's not really helping. Those are different situations. But okay, cool. I like that. Reduce property taxes and lower the cost of consumer goods. So a couple questions. We talked about this a little bit last time. What do property taxes actually pay for in Texas?
Of course. So property taxes are actually set on a local level, which we do. Harris now, I think is Harris Central HCAD.
Mhm.
Everyone knows
Harris
that.
County Appraisal District.
Now
Yeah.
it's Harris County Central Appraisal
Okay.
District,
Yeah,
something like
sure.
that.
Yeah.
And so that gets paid, and that goes to that gets distributed based on that. Not in the county, goes to the governor. He distributes that accordingly. Of course, we have to send our money upwards as well, and we get
Okay.
distribution. My thing about cut that is being more tactful about people on fixed income, like seniors after a certain age, qualify for to be exempt from that. But I did not know that they weren't exempt from school taxes, and
Oh,
those are typically the second highest.
the second highest.
Yes.
Yeah.
So being
Yeah.
tactful about identifying areas of bottlenecks that we could work with the community. I mean, they did a 8% inflation last time. There's a calculator they did, and
Sure.
based on the state, they matched it, and then they lowered it down to they didn't lower it down as what you're paying. They lowered it down as the inflation wouldn't be as high as they projected. There's a
Gotcha.
calculator for
Yeah.
that, but being tactful about understanding that calculator and being like, hey, if that was an estate house that was passed down from generations, like being able to identify that, because you have to pay property tax on that and everything you purchase.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And what do you think about the concept of property taxes being kind of renting your property from the state or the county or whatever, not actually having real ownership and being able to be, going into financial hardship and being able to lose your property? Basically, you're never an owner. Do you believe in ownership?
I believe in ownership. I know property taxes have existed since medieval times.
Oh yeah.
Unfortunately,
Yeah.
it's a structure that was meant to maintain some type of control. And while I'm not pro taxing the heck out of the average person, we do need some sort of way to raise funds. So
Sure.
a property tax. But whenever you have to choose between paying your property taxes and putting food on the table, or paying your mortgage or paying your bills, that's when it becomes a problem.
Right. Right. And I know that Florida just recently got rid of property taxes. Do you know how they supplemented that income? Did they increase sales tax? I think some people were suggesting that we could get rid of property tax and increase sales tax, or figure out another way to raise that capital.
I'm
and
not
be
as
associated.
educated on as how the approach they did it. I would be more prone to actually getting rid of sales taxes, but how come I have to pay taxes on something that I'm buying already. I'm kind of more
Sure.
prone getting rid of that. I mean, in
Okay.
in Texas, it's 8.25%
It
on
is.
sales
It
tax. I mean,
is.
can we possibly cut that? That's what I say. Make lower cost of goods. Let's tackle that. I think with a 4% solid rate, we no one would be as hurt.
Yeah, that's true. So I think that's really good, and I think that's also why we really need to get involved in local government, right? Because I think that a lot of these things can be adjusted in different ways that can make our lives better, but still give the funding needed to do things that need to be done. As long as we can be creative, like if we get away from this vilification situation and just start really thinking about how do we improve the lives of our citizens, like how do we do that, right?
As it should be. And there's different ways. Often, I have a buddy, one of my best friends, he's a bartender, and he makes the mistake that a lot of people do. They feel because they have physical cash that they're making money. And while I don't disagree, he's not. He looks back forward, and then all my taxes are here. Well, I don't have any money saved up. I mean, I keep my money in the bank, but because old school, you have physical cash, you
Yeah.
perceive that. So my approach is not necessarily I'm going to put cash in your hands, but I'm going to keep more cash in your pockets.
So, and that leads me to this. Everything seems to be about money, right? Okay. And I mean, I'm a chief financial officer, right? So my whole life is money. I mean, you asked me, you asked me on what's in the cup. You were like, hey, what's the toughest part? Like, that's the toughest part, bro. Like, I gotta be honest with you. I'm absolutely sick and tired of thinking about money sometimes, but it seems like everyone wants to take money from us, right? Even these things that are like, hey, you could be like the rich and make money and never pay taxes on it, which is completely and utterly untrue. Those people are trying to sell you tax strategy for tens of thousands of dollars, right? So, how can government help families keep more of their money when it seems like all the government does is have their hand out and then vilify everybody and blame everything on everyone else, but then loves to take a victory lap on creating jobs and opportunity and like all this stuff? Like, how can government help families keep more of their money?
Of course. Well, first of all, you're a chief financial officer. Say if you know your money, you know your business. So
Sure,
very,
absolutely.
very important. I think we're in a period of hyperinflation where,
Okay.
and we see that everything is so expensive, eggs and milk, like that's a problem when everything is like that. I think we have to be tactful in reinvesting that money in social services that would leave tangible changes in the community. My thing is, if I'm going to increase taxes, what are we going to get out of that? Am I going to get these roads fixed, or we're going to do that? How long is it going to be? What is a tangible difference that I can do? Again, we can look at things as the Fed always raises or lowers rates. How can we
Mhm.
tactfully manipulate that? All the assistance programs, Doge was an attempt to be able to trim the fat. They said, and I think in
Yeah,
any institution there's fat that can be trimmed. I mean, as CFO,
absolutely.
you could see that, but the approach they did, it was not tactful. All the cutting of the funding programs that we had, like you see that we need it. We're struggling. I think strategically investing in community focused initiatives, things like lowering sales taxes, being able to, I mean, imagine that'd be revolutionary. You pay instead of 8.25%, you pay 4.25. Like,
It would change your life.
yes,
It would
it would
absolutely
change
change your
your
life.
life.
But unintended consequences, right? What consequences would that cause? Like Texas would, lose half of its revenue from
Right.
that scenario, right? So
Sometimes there's no winning. One,
well,
one
and
thing
that
we could say
and
is
that's kind of my point, right? Like we're seeing in New York right now, right? Mondami is going after new taxes in lots of different ways. Okay. And in some of those ways are probably fine. There's probably nothing wrong with it or whatever, but but they already have a state income tax, they got a local income tax, they've already got taxes out the wazoo. How is that money being appropriated? Right? We talked about the appropriations committee, right?
correct.
Okay, like I think a lot of us have a major, and you probably have this problem too. Our government runs without a budget. It runs on a deficit. Okay, we the Pentagon has not has not. Oh, they've failed 7 audits in a row. Okay, they've not achieved a successful audit, right? I mean, they essentially lost $100 billion. I don't even know what the number is. That's not the right number, but my point is that there doesn't seem to be fiscal responsibility in our government, right?
Right.
And
I think at various levels. So I think
at,
that needs to be
various levels,
implemented. If we
yeah,
could
yeah.
do that, I mean, I think it would shift. One of my degrees is finance. I imagine one of yours is too, finance or
Mhm.
accounting.
Sure, yeah, accounting,
Yeah,
yep.
and much of financial literature, financial responsibility, fiscal responsibility, it's not necessarily about the knowledge. People's knowledge is repetition. Putting the same amount in your savings, investing in let's say CDs or money market accounts, but it's all repetition. I think
Mhm.
getting in the hopes of that. I mean, living within our means, it very strategic. We don't need the newest car, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm just saying sometimes when times get tough, you have to weigh it out. And I think to putting financial safeguards or levels of you can't cross this no matter what. I mean, we give too much free reign to our Pentagon, our White House to continue to get into wars. Or well, in theory, we are printing our own money, but inflation, that's what it devalues. That's what I tell people, like my younger siblings, when she was 11, my sister was like, what's inflation? I said, okay, if I give you $20 right now to go buy stuff in the corner store, you're gonna buy what? She's like, oh, 3 or 4 things. Okay, when I was a kid, about like 10, 20 things, like,
Exactly.
yes.
No, for sure. $100 was a lot of money when we were growing up. A lot of money. $100 is
It's
nothing
like
today.
$20 now.
Yeah,
Like,
not
yeah.
even like 10. I mean, it's bad, right? Like milk was like $3, right? Like it was probably not even that,
Nah,
man.
I
Milk
don't
was
think so.
probably like $1, right?
Yeah.
And now it's like $5. It's like I don't know. Pretty wild. But yeah, so how can, thinking about that, I think I think that just goes back to our deal with getting involved in local government. If we start at the bottom, if we start with what's right here in front of us, there's 350 million of us. If we change our focus from out here to right here and each other, and we start to fix things from the ground up, if we start demanding, and how do we demand? We demand with our vote, right?
Your vote is your voice.
Your
If
vote is
someone
your
doesn't do a
voice.
good job, you vote them out. If someone does a good job, you vote them in.
And
When we get it wrong, we're bound to no system is perfect, but we have to do our part, the due diligence.
And it's not the presidential election that is going to change things. Does that change some things? It changes some things. But he can only do so much no matter who that guy is. It is our Congresses, it is our state legislatures, so on and so forth. Okay, the last topic that I want to kind of jump into, and I think this is I think it's kind of important because we've identified that it's the government's job to make laws. Do you believe that we should be law-abiding citizens?
I agree. I agree. The Constitution starts, we the people,
Mm-hmm.
in order to create a stronger, more fair union. So people don't realize that we give up our individual rights for the whole, for the community. That's what people don't realize. I think we commit to this. We can't selectively choose when laws apply to us and don't. And that's, I think, the issue now. People don't want accountability and they want to say something, but don't want the consequence for it. The repercussions for everything has a consequence. You go to school, you do good, you get a good job, so forth. You rob a bank, go to jail. Like,
Right?
yeah.
No, for sure. And and you said exactly kind of where I was leading, which is we don't have we don't have the right to pick and choose the laws that we follow, right? And so that leads me to my next question, because one of your things was greater accountability and clear transparency in immigration enforcement actions that are carried out, particularly regarding ICE and oversight. And so one of my questions is, do local governments have the right to sidestep federal law and enforcement?
We do not.
Right.
So the reality is we do not.
We don't.
And it's hard because you get stuck between a rock and a hard place that says, I don't believe in this, but I also can't fight it. And I could be vocal about it. I could disagree, but at the end of the day, it doesn't. I can't affect it. A good example is data centers. Data centers are popping up everywhere,
Sure.
and local government has no control over them.
And why not?
I don't know the whole notes on it. I have to but
Because doesn't local government have permitting rights?
they supersede us based on state statute.
Okay.
So they're like, I had a friend who's an elected official in El Paso, and like 3 are popping up there.
Yeah.
The ones that are popping up in Corpus, all these things. I mean, we don't have a say on those. They automatically are approved.
They're buying the land, they're getting approved, and they're just happening.
Yes, by state
And
directive.
I know we're concerned about water. We're concerned about, a bunch of different stuff with that. Okay, cool. So, and we've only got a small little bit of time. So I love that you said that, because it does seem like right now there's a lot of local governments that are not fighting back in the right way.
Right.
Like there's this whole idea that, hey, oh, the Democrats made that law, we don't have to follow it. Oh, the Republicans made that law, we don't have to follow it. And like the truth is, like, the Democrats and Republicans don't make laws. the congressional body makes the laws. It has to go through this entire process, right? And we're either going to be a nation that follows the laws, and or replaces the representatives and makes new laws to replace. I mean, you know what I mean? I definitely think we need to get away from the vilifications, and we need to start really focusing on how to make our system better, serving everyone, right? Because most of us can agree. You take off the blue and the red, you just get a bunch of families in the room and talking about these things, and most Americans can agree on a lot of things. Okay, we're gonna have a few differences. Those differences don't make us enemies.
Focus on the issues. The 80-20
Right.
split. Focus on the 80 things we have in common instead of the 20 where we don't have in common. And both parties are going through a transitional phase. It's alarming where it could end up right now. Either on one side, it could be too progressive, too outlandish. In other ways, you could just be so disregard with laws, with civility, with, I mean, I don't want to throw a rock anywhere, but I mean, in a country where you could be impeached and come back, it's very interesting. I mean, that
Bro,
speaks volumes.
Bro, it's interesting. The process is such. First you got impeachment. Well, then you have to be then there's another process and to be convicted. And none of our presidents have ever been convicted. We've had some impeachments, but never a conviction. And all that. Yeah,
Be voted out by the voting base,
it's
but
pretty
then be
wild.
brought back by the voting base. I mean, it just shows the anomaly of where we're at.
Yeah.
We're in a pivotal time in our country, and I encourage everyone to go out to vote, regardless of Republican or Democrat. Go out and vote, make your voices heard. Please do your research. And there's some people that you say that guy's great, cool. Hey, that guy sucks, cool. Like, go vote them out, go vote for them, or vice versa. And we may get it wrong, but it's part of the process that shows initiative that we're committed to what the Constitution says: we the people.
I love that, Emmanuel. I love that. And that leads us right into the wisdom of the week for this episode. It's not just your vote, it's an informed vote. Like Emmanuel said, do your research. Really spend some time, not just watching the news, not just looking at the rhetoric on social media, all the different posts about who's this and what's that and whatever. Actually research the representatives, like for real, not news articles, but actual research and the bills that they have brought forth, whether they're bringing forth bills, the voting record that they have. All this is public information. You can look it up and really get involved in your local government on the city level, on the state level, on the county level, and let's hold our representatives accountable to being a law-abiding country that's focused on making life better for Americans. And let's be Americans again, right? Go America.
Yes, go America.
Right? Well, thank you, Emmanuel. Thank you so much for your service. We wish you absolutely the best of luck in your next election. And I know you're crushing it out there for Pasadena. And you're more than welcome to come back anytime.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, everybody. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification button, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Sponsored by Centavos. Keep more of your money.